In the most dangerous waters on the planet, where the Indian Ocean meets the Gulf of Aden, a silent war is being fought that determines the fate of global commerce. For over a decade, Somali pirates have turned 2.5 million square miles of ocean into their hunting ground, hijacking ships, capturing hostages, and paralyzing trade routes that carry 1/3 of the world's oil. But when these maritime criminals went up against the most sophisticated military machinery ever deployed on the high seas, they discovered they had declared war on the most lethal naval power in human history.
Give the call, Pat.
Today, we're diving into 3 operations that pushed American anti-piracy efforts to their absolute limits. We'll see how 24 operators from SEAL Team 6 parachuted into the Somali desert to execute one of the most audacious rescue missions ever documented. We'll analyze the exact moment when 3 elite snipers changed the rules of the game, with 3 simultaneous shots that echoed across every ocean on Earth. And we'll reveal the classified details of a recent operation that showed how the United States can simultaneously face Somali pirates and Iranian ballistic missiles while protecting American citizens in the most volatile zone on the planet. But there's something connecting these operations, a pattern that only becomes visible when analyzed together. A tactical evolution that has transformed the war against piracy into something far more complex than the world imagines. A secret that will be revealed at the end of this story and explains why, in recent months, pirate activity has resurged precisely when everyone believed it had been eradicated forever. November 26, 2023. In the early hours of dawn, an encoded message cuts through space from the Gulf of Aden to Norfolk, Virginia, Central Park under pirate attack. These are the first words of an operation that would redefine American naval doctrine for the 21st century. The tanker M.V. Central Park, loaded with 20,000 tons of phosphoric acid, is cruising at 18 knots when 5 armed men leap from a high-speed skiff. Within minutes, the crew takes refuge in the armored citadel while the attackers attempt to seize control of the bridge. It's the first successful pirate hijacking in Somali waters in 6 years.
Yes.
1,500 nautical miles away, the destroyer USS Mason receives the order it's been waiting for. Commander Justin Smith orders full speed toward the Central Park's position, unaware that he's about to star in the first real capture of Somali pirates by the US Navy in 5 years. What he also doesn't know is that in the next 4 hours, he'll have to simultaneously face pirate vessels and ballistic missiles launched from Yemen. The USS Mason is an 8,300-ton steel beast, representing 4 decades of technological evolution in naval warfare. Its Aegis combat system integrates sensors and weapons with precision that turns every square mile of ocean into controlled territory. The AN/SPY-1DV radar sweeps the horizon with 4 fixed antennas, providing 360-degree coverage, capable of detecting and simultaneously tracking over 100 aerial and surface targets. It can identify kayak-sized vessels at 50 nautical miles or supersonic missiles approaching at speeds exceeding 1,500 miles per hour. As the Mason approaches the incident area, its MH-60R Seahawk helicopter is already airborne. This flying machine is far more than transportation. It's an autonomous weapons system with a 245 nautical mile range, over 3 hours of endurance, and the ability to operate in weather conditions that would ground any other aircraft. Its APS-147 multimode radar can detect enemy periscopes and small craft moving at high speed even in rough seas. Armed with AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, 50 caliber machine guns, and Mach 54 torpedoes, it can engage surface, submarine, and aerial threats with equal effectiveness. The Seahawk's infrared sensors immediately detect thermal signatures on the Central Park. 5 human figures on the bridge, and a small craft speeding away at full throttle. The co-pilot activates the communication system and transmits on frequencies that penetrate any interference. This is the United States Navy. Stop engines and surrender your weapons immediately. The pirates' response is to accelerate. It's their fatal mistake. The Seahawk dives, its rotors slicing through the air as it closes on the fleeing skiff. The .50 caliber machine gun fires warning bursts that impact the water meters from the vessel, creating columns of white foam that rise like geysers. The pirates, faced with the reality of American technological superiority, cut engines and raise their hands. Within minutes, the Mason's VBSS team deploys from the helicopter. Visit board search and seizure. Sailors specially trained in hand-to-hand combat, rapid boarding techniques, and automatic weapons handling. They're equipped with Level 4 body armor, ballistic helmets, 4th-generation night vision goggles, and weaponry including M4 Aeon rifles with holographic sights, SIG Sauer, P226 pistols, and stun grenades. 5 men armed with AK-47s, RPG launchers, and grenades are detained without resistance. But the operation is far from over. While the sailors secure the pirates, the Mason's radar detects 2 ballistic signatures approaching from Yemeni territory controlled by the Houthis. They're anti-ship missiles launched in what the media will report as retaliation for the pirates' capture. The reality is far more complex. The Aegis combat systems automatically calculate trajectories, velocities, and intercept points. Commander Smith has less than 2 minutes to decide whether to activate SM-2 Block 4 interceptors or trust that the projectiles will fall harmlessly into the sea. The missiles impact the water 10 nautical miles from the Mason without causing damage. But the message is unequivocal. The United States now faces a hybrid threat, where Somali pirates and Iranian militias coordinate attacks against American targets. To understand the magnitude of this evolution, we must go back to the origins of the pirate crisis. Somalia has been a failed state since 1991. No effective government, no national navy, no law. Its 2,100 miles of coastline became ground zero for modern piracy when desperate fishermen discovered that hijacking a single ship generated more income than a decade of traditional fishing. Between 2008 and 2011, Somali pirates perfected a methodology lethal in its simplicity. Mother ships converted to floating bases would deploy up to 1,000 nautical miles from shore. From there, they'd launch high-speed skiffs armed with boarding ladders, AK-47s, RPG launchers, and the brutality necessary to hold hostages for months. Their operational territory spanned 2.5 million square miles of the Indian Ocean, turning vital commercial routes into zones of maritime warfare. The crisis numbers are terrifying. In 2011, the peak year of pirate activity, 236 attacks on commercial vessels were recorded. Costs to the global economy exceeded $7 billion annually. Maritime insurance premiums multiplied by 300, jumping from $500 per voyage to $150,000. The Suez Canal lost a third of its traffic when ship owners decided to reroute their vessels around the Cape of Good Hope, adding 10 days and an additional $1 million per trip. But the pirates made a strategic error that would seal their fate. They hijacked American citizens. April 7, 2009. The merchant vessel Maersk Alabama is sailing 250 nautical miles off the Somali coast when its radar detects 3 skiffs approaching at high speed. Captain Richard Phillips orders full speed ahead and executes evasive maneuvers, but the pirates manage to board the vessel. The crew takes refuge in secure compartments while Phillips is captured and transferred to a lifeboat with 4 hijackers. For 72 hours, the world watches the first hijacking of an American citizen by pirates in over 200 years. The USS Bainbridge, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, sails alongside the lifeboat while FBI negotiators attempt to resolve the crisis peacefully. But when the pirates begin directly threatening Phillips' life, President Barack Obama authorizes the use of lethal force. The order arrives via encrypted radio to SEAL Team 6 snipers, positioned on the Bainbridge's deck. Green light for lethal fire if there's immediate danger to the hostage. The three operators adjust their SR-25 precision rifles, weapons capable of hitting coin-sized targets at 500 meters in rough sea conditions. The decisive moment comes when one of the pirates aims his AK-47 directly at Phillips' head. 3 simultaneous shots. 3 pirates instantly dead. Phillips, unharmed, is rescued minutes later, while the 4th pirate, who had surrendered hours earlier to receive medical attention, is transported to New York, where he'll be tried and sentenced to 33 years in prison. The operation demonstrated to the world that the United States was willing to use lethal force to protect its citizens, regardless of where they were captured. But it also revealed the limitations of reactive responses. Pirates still controlled vast ocean expanses, capturing hostages of other nationalities and perfecting their operational techniques. The strategic response came in January 2009 with the creation of Combined Task Force 151, the largest international naval coalition of the 21st century. 46 nations contributed ships, aircraft, personnel, and resources under rotating command to establish permanent naval presence in the Western Indian Ocean. The United States led with Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, Ticonderoga-class cruisers, and Seahawk helicopters. The European Union deployed Operation Atalanta. China sent destroyers from its new base in Djibouti. Russia, India, Japan, and South Korea maintained war fleets permanently stationed. The internationally recommended transit corridor became the most watched highway on the planet. 20 to 30 warships simultaneously patrolled an area extending from the Bab el-Mandeb Strait to Seychelles waters. The results were spectacular. Between 2011 and 2016, pirate attacks were reduced by 75%. From 236 annual incidents, the numbers dropped to fewer than 5. But the pirates didn't surrender. They evolved. January 25, 2012, 2 in the morning, Somali local time. A C-130 Hercules flies in absolute silence over the desert surrounding the city of Adado. In its cargo hold, 24 SEAL Team 6 operators perform final equipment checks as they approach one of the most audacious missions in U.S. Special Operations history. Jessica Buchanan, a 32-year-old American aid worker, and Paul Hagen Thisted, a 60-year-old Danish engineer, had been kidnapped 3 months earlier while working on humanitarian demining operations near Galkayo. The pirates demanded a ransom of $1.5 million, but U.S. intelligence had detected that Buchanan's health was rapidly deteriorating from a kidney infection that could kill her within 2 weeks. The mission, designated Operation Octave Fusion, had been personally authorized by President Obama 48 hours earlier. The SEALs parachuted 2 miles from the compound where the hostages were being held, landing on rocky terrain under a new moon that provided total darkness. Equipped with 4th-generation night vision goggles, HK-416 rifles with advanced suppressors, and stun grenades, they moved on foot across the Somali desert landscape. The pirates had made a fatal tactical error. After spending the night chewing khat, a plant that produces effects similar to amphetamines, they had fallen asleep at their guard positions. The SEALs approached the compound using infiltration techniques that made their presence imperceptible, even at distances of just a few meters. The operation lasted exactly 9 minutes. All 9 kidnappers were neutralized without any of them firing a single shot. The SEALs suffered no casualties. Buchanan and Thisted were evacuated by helicopter to the U.S. base in Djibouti and subsequently transferred to medical facilities where they received specialized care. But Octave Fusion revealed something disturbing. Somali pirates had evolved toward complex land-based operations. They were no longer limited to hijacking ships on the high seas. Now they operated kidnapping networks that extended inland, using Somalia's interior as safe haven against international naval patrols. They had learned that holding hostages on land provided significant tactical advantages: greater security, better communications, and the ability to resist prolonged rescue operations. This evolution forced the United States to develop completely new military capabilities. Anti-piracy operations could no longer be limited to maritime patrols. They required land-based intelligence, satellite surveillance, infiltration capabilities, and special forces trained for rescue missions in hostile territory. Special Operations Command established permanent detachments in Djibouti, Seychelles, and Kenya, equipped with infiltration helicopters, reconnaissance drones, and encrypted communications equipment. American superiority in these operations doesn't come solely from more advanced ships or better individual equipment. It comes from a global surveillance network that turns every square mile of ocean into monitored territory 24 hours a day. Planet Labs' constellation satellites provide daily images of the entire Earth's surface with sufficient resolution to identify individual vessels. Automatic identification systems track 95% of global commercial traffic in real time. MQ-9 Reaper drones based in Seychelles maintain constant surveillance over critical maritime corridors. But the decisive advantage lies in data integration through artificial intelligence algorithms that analyze movement patterns, identify suspicious behavior, and predict risk areas 72 hours in advance. When a pirate mothership leaves Somali ports, the system automatically identifies it and alerts all naval units in the region. This capability was dramatically demonstrated in March 2024 during the MV Ruin rescue, when the Indian Navy located the hijacked vessel 500 nautical miles from shore using coordinates provided by US satellites updated every 10 minutes. The success of the anti-piracy campaign transformed the Western Indian Ocean into the safest maritime zone on the planet. By 2016, pirate activity had been reduced to insignificant levels. International coalitions began reducing their naval deployments. NATO ended Operation Ocean Shield. Many analysts declared that Somali piracy had been permanently eradicated. They were wrong. In November 2023, exactly when the world faced simultaneous crises in Ukraine and Gaza, Somali pirates returned. But not as the disorganized criminals of previous years. They had learned from their defeats and forged alliances that transformed the pirate threat into something far more dangerous. The connection was revealed through intelligence intercepts that remain partially classified. Yemen's Houthi rebels, backed by Iran, had established direct operational links with Somali pirate cells. This wasn't an ideological alliance, but a mutually beneficial criminal partnership. The Houthis provided intelligence on shipping routes, transit schedules, and protection levels of commercial vessels. In exchange, pirates facilitated weapons and oil smuggling to territories controlled by Yemeni rebels. This revelation explains why the resurgence of piracy in 2023 coincided exactly with the escalation of conflict in the Red Sea. When the United States and its allies deployed massive naval resources to protect commercial traffic from Houthi attacks, a security vacuum was created in Somali waters that pirates immediately exploited. The new pirates operate with sophistication rivaling regular military organizations. They use commercial drones for pre-target reconnaissance. They employ signal jammers to block satellite communications during hijackings. They coordinate attacks with military precision, exploiting windows of opportunity when naval patrols are busy responding to threats in other areas. They negotiate ransoms through cryptocurrencies that make financial tracking and asset freezing difficult. The MV Abdullah, hijacked in March 2024, demonstrated these new capabilities. Pirates neutralized the ship's communication systems in less than 5 minutes. They evaded satellite detection using motherships disguised as legitimate fishing vessels. They held 23 crew members hostage for 33 days before releasing the vessel after payment of a $5 million ransom. The United States responded with accelerated implementation of the AN/SPY-6 radar system on Flight 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. With 30 times more sensitivity than its predecessor, it can detect kayak-sized vessels at 50 nautical miles, while simultaneously tracking ballistic missiles at hundreds of kilometers distance. New operational protocols integrate artificial intelligence to identify pirate behavior patterns with 95% accuracy. But the real American innovation was revealed during the Central Park operation. For the first time in anti-piracy operations, the USS Mason activated its AN/SLQ-32 electronic warfare systems against pirate vessels. Electromagnetic waves instantly disabled all electronic equipment of the hijackers within a 5 nautical mile radius. GPS, radios, satellite phones. Everything became useless. The pirates, accustomed to coordinating with land bases during operations, found themselves completely isolated and vulnerable. This electronic warfare capability applied to anti-piracy operations represents a revolutionary evolution in naval tactics. The United States has developed electromagnetic pulse weapons, specifically designed to disable small craft without causing permanent harm to their occupants, thus complying with international laws on proportional use of force while effectively neutralizing pirate threats. Operation Stingray on November 26 finally revealed the new American naval doctrine, capability to simultaneously face multiple asymmetric threats in the same theater of operations. When Houthi missiles approached the USS Mason, its Aegis systems automatically detected them while continuing to process data from the pirate pursuit. The destroyer maintained full operational capability against both threats without performance degradation in either mission. This multitasking capability makes the U.S. Navy the only naval force in the world capable of maintaining order in maritime spaces where state and non-state threats overlap. It's the materialization of the multi-domain warfare concept applied to naval combat, where a single ship can simultaneously neutralize Somali pirates, intercept Iranian missiles, and coordinate hostage rescue operations. The cost of maintaining this supremacy has been considerable. Anti-piracy operations have required investments exceeding $15 billion in the last decade. Each deployed destroyer consumes $200,000 daily in fuel, maintenance, and personnel. Seahawk helicopters require 50 hours of maintenance for every hour of operational flight. Satellite surveillance systems process petabytes of data daily, requiring analysis centers that operate continuously. But the cost of not acting would have been catastrophic for the global economy. Somali pirates captured, during their peak activity period, more than 3,000 hostages from 60 different nationalities. Ransoms paid exceeded $500 million, financing the purchase of heavy weapons, fast boats, and communications technology that transformed local criminal groups into transnational organizations capable of threatening regional stability. American naval presence prevented Somalia from becoming a maritime narco-state comparable to territories controlled by organized crime in other regions of the world. Links between pirates and terrorist groups like Al-Shabaab would have created a criminal terrorist alliance that could have destabilized the entire Horn of Africa and threatened trade routes vital to the global economy. Today, when a merchant captain navigates through the Gulf of Aden, he knows he's protected by the most sophisticated surveillance network ever deployed in naval history. Satellites observing every square meter of ocean, destroyers capable of facing any known threat, helicopters dominating maritime skies, and special forces trained to rescue hostages in the most remote and dangerous places on the planet. Somali pirates discovered that facing the United States on the high seas is equivalent to declaring war on the most advanced naval power in human history. A power that has turned oceans into American lakes and never abandons its citizens, no matter how far away they are or how dangerous their captors might be. The operation that began with a Central Park hijacking ended by revealing a fundamental truth about naval power in the 21st century. In waters where pirate terror once reigned, ships carrying the commerce that keeps the civilized world functioning now sail with absolute security. It's the triumph of technology over barbarism, organization over chaos, American determination over those who challenge the established international order. The war against Somali pirates didn't end with spectacular battles broadcast on television. It ended when these criminals understood a simple but definitive truth. On the high seas, the United States is inevitable. Subscribe if you want to discover how the forces patrolling the most dangerous corners of the planet keep the world you know safe.